First of all, our priorities are going to concentrate on delivering all of the work that we've started under the Recovery Act. We actually just made a $5 billion goal of awarding those contracts in barely 18 months, nearly 4 times as much work as we've ever done before. And these are real contracts with real people at work. Now they're going to actually deliver and start greening the buildings throughout our portfolio, over 280 different buildings. So there'll be a lot of concentration on delivering the work that we've got started. Needless to say, a lot of that work is focused on energy improvements in the building. We're expecting to start seeing those reduce the energy bills in buildings all across the country. But it's more than that, because what we're really doing in this area is to try and make buildings work better for the people in them. So we're going to be looking at some different kinds of measurements where we can tie productivity back into what is happening in the building. Because, you know, you don't need the building for a building's sake. I mean, you need the building for what actually goes on in the building. And so we're trying to tie those together in a more meaningful way. And you see that in data centers a lot. We're trying to figure it out, how the machines in the building work together, and you're seeing huge energy savings just from really understanding that interrelationship. We understand a lot less of the interrelationship between buildings and people. And so we'll be concentrating on doing some more really detailed studies of how that interrelationship works. But we know a couple of things. One, the more we can use natural light, the better we can actually cause people to work in the building. So we're trying to push the natural light further in the building, take the offices off the corner offices off the windows and pull them back into the center, or maybe have no offices. Lighting systems have really improved over the last 3 to 5 years, and so we're doing a lot of lighting projects out of the Recovery Act that's going to make improvements in the way people work. We're looking at a couple of other areas too, because it turns out that the people in the building actually control about 40% of the energy consumption. So we're trying to develop some feedback mechanisms so that people actually know the consequences of their decisions. I mean, if you know that it's costing your agency, you know, $25 a week because you don't happen to turn off your computer at night, maybe you'll change your behavior. If it's free, or if you don't know, or, you know, nobody bothered to tell you that it matters, that makes a difference. So a lot of feedback mechanisms. We're looking at doing some studies of sub-metering. It's common practice in a lot of other countries. It's not common practice here. So in a lot of cases, you might have 3 or 4 different tenants in one building. Nobody knows who's consuming what. So a little bit of sub-metering. We're working with a couple of private sector landlords and in our own inventory and across the government, not just in GSA, to look at how we can get some real measurements out there. And I guess the last thing I want to say is that the whole government is looking at greenhouse gas measurement. It's a great integrative measure. So we're looking at how all of those things link together. So it's not just what the building does, but what the people do on the way to the building, employee travel, commuting patterns, all of that kind of thing. The federal government's first inventory is due in January, so it'll be a big deal across the government and a much better measure for us to use going forward.
Fantastic.